shot during Juve out here in Boston.
Yeah.
So that tends to be a relevance no matter where you go.
Yeah.
Even in Cambridge Carnival, like that same year I played mass because the people that I was playing mass with, sometimes you got to still play mass within the areas that you're gonna go ahead and play with. You spend your money, so you want to get your money's worth.
Right.
And that same year, I ended up doing Cambridge, and there was a violence there too. And this is about, I was about 25. So I'm gonna say 10 plus years ago,
Okay.
because it was definitely over 10 years ago. And then there was something that happened there. Nobody died, but there was definitely violence there.
Okay.
And New York being what it is, that's the opportunity that most people take when they got all these like gang affiliations and gang beef and all that stuff going on. And we had to think about all the social media issues that we got going on, right? Everybody's sitting here smoking on so and so, and all this other issues is going on. That stuff still is relevant nowadays when it comes down to carnival, because now I'm gonna see my ops, which is what the word that these young folks is using now.
Right.
Back then we didn't say ops. It was
Right.
just like, yo, I see Buddy, and Buddy is one of my peoples that I don't get along with.
Right.
I'm gonna go ahead and knock him off. And that's unfortunately what carnival used to be when it comes to violence. Instead of getting people together, people used to use that opportunity to try to get to the people that they wanted to get out of their way. And it disturbed everything for everybody else that was having a good time.
Right.
So 5 people got shot in New York.
5 people got shot in New York, and I feel like the internet too probably play a role, and especially like
Yeah.
there's a lot of people coming out of state to go see the carnival in New York. You got a lot of states like Miami, Jersey, Boston. You know what I mean? From Florida. You know what I mean? I don't know. Probably Atlanta might be in there. You know what I mean? Now we have a lot of Haitians all over. A lot. I'm gonna just not. Let me just say a lot of Haitians.
Everywhere.
Everybody. A lot of Caribbean people now. Now we also have people from the Biden that's
Yes.
coming in. That's been coming in, like the what you call it? Venezuelan. You got the Mexicans.
Venezuelans,
you got,
Mexicans, people from Chile.
Everybody.
And the majority of those people are
Right.
really going to be Haitians
Right.
and any other descendants from the Caribbean countries, because it's not the people from those countries that are coming in. It's the people that are immigrants from those countries that are coming in.
Correct.
Trying to come into the
Now,
States.
New York is over the months. I believe last year there's been a lot of immigrants coming through New York
I can only imagine.
in a vast pace. So now you got all these immigrants that's also mixing with the crowd, mixing with the crowd from different states now into the carnival. Now you have a lot of mixed feelings, mixed personality, and that could create havoc. Especially a lot of people don't get along with people. You know what I
Question.
mean?
Do you think it's really the immigrants, or do you think it's the people that's already living there?
It might be people that's already living there might be causing havoc.
I
Right.
feel like, okay, so the reason why I asked you that question, right, is because there's always been this stigma on immigrants coming into the country and starting issues, right? Understanding that they're in a land where they need to, like, survival of the fittest.
Right.
I need to figure out what I need to do for myself to live, right? Whether chaos has been their program already where they were from
Right.
or not. But we know, and I don't want to say this because we're born from immigrants or we're immigrants ourselves, to say that a lot of us is not going to do that same exact thing. But I feel like more than likely that stigma goes on the immigrants because they look at us as savages. Like they
Right.
used to look at Indians, well, I want to say Native Americans. They used to look at Native Americans as savages. And they looked at us too as Africans as savages.
Correct.
I don't think it's necessarily them, although they're looking and fighting for something where they can fit into that. Because there's definitely an avenue for them to fit into the chaos.
Right.
Where they want to be like, oh, well, shoot, this is an advantage for me to go ahead and fight this person because this person don't like me. But more than likely, it's really the people that are living in the land that's starting all this issue.
Right.
when we look at Carnival, and especially in Boston, I don't know what it's been like for New York. I don't know like what it's been like for Miami and all those other places.
Okay.
But when we look back into Boston, right? Back in the day, Boston Carnival, I don't know when it started, but Juve, we already know Juve started from Blue Hill Ave all the way along, right?
Right. But who
Just
created
this
Juve?
year.
Where'd that come from, actually, Juve?
Juve was always in its own self.
Right.
Juve
So it's
was
separate. It's separate from
right.
the carnival.
So I don't want to be incorrect because I have to go back into my phone to give you the actual derivation of where Juve started. Juve is really the night of the party.
Okay.
That started within our own culture, within the West Indies. That is something that happened outside.
Right.
However, Boston Juve used to start all throughout the roads of Blue Hill Avenue and everything else. But for some odd reason, because those were the times that, now using today's lingo, the ops would find the other ops and try to get off on them and everything else. But these kids out here with these guns don't know who they're aiming at. They don't got no aim.
They don't.
And then they end up killing somebody else. Rest in peace, Don Jaffier. That's my baby girl. That was years ago, but still to this day, I still hold her name because if it wasn't for her, I don't think I would have done Juve. Like, every time I was in high school, she used to always do carnival and everything else. She was a carnival junkie. They ended up changing it and putting it at the back by Shamik, like, I wouldn't say Forest Hills, but behind Franklin Park. So Shattuck Hospital, that area, to make it more secluded.
Right.
Which makes more sense because, to be honest, Juve is supposed to be a festival that's held secluded in a certain and contained area. But in Boston, it would be a parade like we would normally do with Boston Carnival. And then afterwards, and that's supposed to really happen overnight.
So hold up, who's in charge? Who's in charge on top of Juve? Is it? I feel like this is coming from Trinidad, like it's like a soca bands or something like that.
No. Okay, so Juve is really a Caribbean thing. Now that you're asking me, because I don't have my phone at my disposal, I don't like to give public information that I am not fully versed in. I know the derivation of Juve, but for me to be able to give it to everybody else in the public that's tuning in and paying attention, I don't want to give misinformation. So for everybody who's wondering, just like for yourself, let's go back and look into what Juve is. Juve really means like day party, the day break.
Okay.
Juve is really day break.
Like breakfast, early breakfast.
Yeah, day break. That's what Juve really is. Day break of the party, right?
Okay.
So that's the reason why when you see Juve, it's always like, back in the day, it used to start like 4 or 5 in the morning until like 7, 8, 9. And then Carnival would start around 12 back in the day. Carnival would start 12 and then land all the way until 8 p.m. Then they started manipulating everything because of all the violence. So then Juve would be like, instead of 3, they moved it down to 5. 5 to 7, 5 to 9. And then after that, it would be 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. They changed it to 8 o'clock. I remember back in the day when I was a kid, it would be sundown. I could still come outside. My mama still lived on Seaver Street. I could still come outside and come down to Blue Hill Ave and still see Carnival rolling through. People with their snakes on their necks.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? Living their life and just having a good time. Nowadays, what was Carnival ended at? 6 o'clock?
I think 6 or 7, around there.
6. Now, that was new to me because the last time I played Carnival, it was over by 4 or 5.
Yeah.
They was already wiping the ground and everything else. The only reason why they extended the time is because they had enough police force to patrol and surveillance the whole entire area to make sure everything was cool. When they realized that Juve went proper, when they managed it and secluded it right there by Shattuck Hospital at the back, that's when they said, okay, well, we can continue Carnival all the way up until 6, 7 o'clock. But that has always been a problem because of all the violence that we have going on, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Thank you for putting those good words and telling the story how it is when it comes to Juve because I didn't really know where Juve come from. Like I just never really and like you said, Juve was never a part of Carnival. Like you said, it's an early start.
It's a part of Carnival.
It's a part of Carnival.
It is. When you look back into the West Indies, it's a part of Carnival.
Okay.
And I wish that I knew that because then I would have done my research to give the actual.
So hold up, if
Juve, it means daybreak.
Right.
That's what it means.
If Juve is a part of Carnival, why does it last so? It don't last long. It's only for a short.
It's called daybreak.
Okay.
Juve really means daybreak.
I think Juve should be mixed up with Carnival, like in a carnival, literally, in the
when
afternoon.
you look at Juve, look at it, right? And then you are in the land of America. Majority of these people are not.
Let's just say if Caribbean people was not in America, it would not be. They would not be having none of that. Right.
When you look at when you go to Barbados, you go to Trinidad, you go to Jamaica,
right.
You go to Haiti.
That's where that comes from. The carnival comes from the islands.
Exactly.
Right.
But that's where Juve really comes from because that really means daybreak. That means the beginning. So when the sun comes up, before the sun comes up,
it's like those people are vampires.
They are they're already partying.
It's like they vampires, man.
We are breaking the day and we're gonna break the day with Carnival. That's what Juve really means.
So when the sun goes up, they don't want to be seen.
It's not even
they want to be in the dark.
No, they want to be seen. It's the day break.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
It just sound like a devilish thing a little bit.
It does.
Like a vampire.
You know
type.
why? Because when you look at Juve, it's more so like all the darkness.
Yeah, the Mardi Gras. You know what I mean?
Exactly. All people see is like the darkness, right? But when you compare Haitian culture, you have to realize too, though, not every culture, even though West Indian culture, all of them are from Africa, and voodoo is everywhere. It's not just Haiti. I hate when people say just Haiti. It's not just Haiti.
Witchcraft.
But within that, it's the daybreak of the partying celebration.
Okay. It's like a what's the word? Initiation.
Initiation, right. But letting go of your inhibitions. So when you look at Juve, that's when people start throwing paint, start throwing mud, start throwing gasoline. Nobody cares about what they look like.
Right.
They just end up looking like trash.
Right.
To be honest, to make it vulgar in a sense, and that's what it is, you end up at the end of Juve just looking like shh. That's it.
Oh, shut up.
I said shh. I didn't continue. I said shh.
No, I'm just thinking about this guy.
No,
he always be saying shh, shut up.
That's it. You end up looking like shh. You know what I'm saying? Because it's inhibitions. There's no care. It's carefree. You just want to party and just let loose, but enjoy your environment while you're in it.
Okay.
That's really what Juve is, which is the daybreak. It's the beginning of the party celebration.
Okay.
Which is why they throw gasoline, they throw powder, they throw dirt. It's supposed to be mud, but I don't know if they ever really use mud. I know they use like black paint to symbolize gasoline. I don't know how far anybody has ever really gone into Juve parties, but if you pay attention, I'm one of those people that actually like pay attention to my surroundings. Whenever I would get, I'm sorry, my Haitian people, I love y'all. I love my Haitian folks.
Right.
But for some odd reason, when Juve comes around and it's a Haitian group, you always see some voodoo nonsense going on.
Thank you. That's why I don't go to Juve. That's why I stay away from that.
That's why my family and my mama told me don't go to Carnival, period. Like, I was raised Seventh Adventist, so it's just like, geez, like, is this what we're doing? Right. But then when I look at other cultures and how they're enjoying themselves, I'm like, oh, it doesn't have to be that way.
So yeah, we didn't want to stay away from the topic. We got a few minutes to go for us to be out of here. So let's talk about this for a good 20 minutes, and then we're gonna get the show. So yeah, today's topic is black on black crime. Like I said, we earlier on in New York, a few people got hit, 5 people got shot, and then now here in Boston, two people died in a barbershop. And wondering why. It's like somebody always getting targeted at a barbershop. I hear stories like that a lot here in Boston. Several people always getting shot. Why they target the barbershop, I don't even know. Men love to go to get their hair done. cuts and all that. So when the enemy probably walk by and see somebody in there, and next you know, boom. So speaking about black on black crime in the community, that's the topic. Why I bring that up is because of the so-called violence, especially black folks. They love to kill their own kind. You know, I haven't heard barbershop killing for quite a while. I believe 2 years ago somebody did get shot. It was a Jamaican guy. I forgot where. I think somewhere in Blue Hill at a barbershop. They killed him, whatever. I think that was like 2-3 years ago. Now it's happening all over again. And you wonder why, you know, people getting targeted, you know. Sometimes you got to ask yourself, why did the person get shot? Did they, you know, did something to someone for themselves to get shot? Is it a gang affiliation and so forth? And also back to the parties, you know, the after hours, you know, the club scenes and all that. You know, people always find someone at the party or at a club, or it don't have to be like a gang type of beef. It don't have to be a beef.
It doesn't have to be.
It could just be
beef.
anything.
It doesn't have to be that. So
Right.
I'm glad we're talking about that, right? So like I was telling you, years ago, I don't really want to say names or whatever, but when I say years ago, I'm talking about like over a decade ago. I remember I used to, whenever I feel like walking, I would walk, and I passed by a barbershop that was on Blue Hill Ave near Morton Street-ish, and somebody had gotten shot there, and unfortunately it was a friend of mine's boyfriend who was there, and he was having his son's haircut done at the time. But the way the story went, it wasn't more of like he walked in there and shot him. It was more of he got him outside and then shot him right there in front of the barbershop.
Front of the barbershop, right.
And the reason why I say I'm glad that we're talking about this is because for me being in Chicago for so long, I've seen altercations in barbershops. Like me being, me having my business in like hair care products and stuff like that, I used to frequent barbershops. And I would see certain things. Now in Chicago, it's a lot different because it's a lot more gang violence than it is out here in Boston.
Right.
Where in Boston, yeah, these people claim that they're gangbangers, but they're not really gangbangers like they out here in Chicago. But like even out there, like it got to the point where I guess somebody got killed, and then they started doing a protest in front of Buddy's barbershop, and he's a really like cool, calm, collected person. Ain't no. And in Chicago, I swear to God, like when you go into a spot, where you going? You can be going into a currency exchange, which what we call out here in a check cashers. Everything is you got to get buzzed in.
Okay.
Like even if you go into a beauty salon or a beauty shop.
Why is that?
Because there's so much guns and gang violence out there.
So hold on. I meant to ask you that since you're in Chicago.
Yeah.
What year were you in Chicago? Were you living in Chicago?
2000. Okay, so 6 years to now. This is 2024. I came back in 2023.
Okay. So you know about. Okay.
So 2018 until 2023.
All right, pause. So from that, from those years that you was in Chicago, because I used to watch what's the guy name? He's a big YouTube speaker, DJ Academics. You probably heard of him.
Yeah, I know who he is.
He always talk about the war in Chiraq and so forth. And it was because of him I always watch his videos because he always speaking about the war in Chiraq, and it just blew out of proportion. Like the drill scene in Chicago, where the most violence, the most crime, I believe, in South Side of Chicago, or the west. This is the west and South Side.
Oh yeah, that's big.
So which side were you in Chicago?
Okay, so I was in both. I lived in the west side for most of my time. I frequented the whole south side. So to be honest, to break it down, Chicago. Okay, Illinois is bigger than Massachusetts, right?
Oh yeah.
But think about it like how Dorchester and Roxbury used to fight, where it wasn't a big fight, but it'd be like, oh, I'm from Dorchester, I'm from Roxbury. It's a whole different scene. Like the whole vibe is different.
Okay.
Or even Mattapan. So with them, they go deeper because their gangs go a lot deeper than what it normally is. Majority of your West Side folks, you might find some GDs and whatever the case may be.
So you know about the GDs and the BDs?
Oh yeah, BDs is mostly going to be, and they're all the same, to be honest.
Same
and
youth.
The sad thing is, all of their doctrine come from the same exact thing.
Wow.
All of their doctrine, to break down, if people want to understand Chicago gangs, their doctrine really come from Christianity, the Quran, and that's it. But then with the Christianity, you got divisions. So with the GDs and the BDs, they all literally are talking about the same doctrine, but they all following a different person. And they all believe in one thing. Whereas you have the Protestants, where you have the Baptists, and then you have the Seventh-day Adventists.
Okay.
It's like that. And then when you listen to them and hear what they're talking about, it's just like, bruh, you're talking about the same thing.
Right.
Like, it's the same stuff.
So it's just sad, to see all these kids, black kids, in Chicago, killing themselves rampantly. And what's so sad about it, so many of them die over the years about the same old thing, the drill music, fighting over what we don't even know, a block, whatever. A lot of people, a lot of them got killed, and they don't. And the one that see the others that got killed already, buried, whatever, and they still, rapping about dumb stuff, talking about somebody's grave.
You know what it is? They're fighting over a beef that was before them. The beef started really between, and I'm not going to go too far deep into that because that's not my place to speak on that. I'm not a gangbanger. I am not affiliated.
We should speak on it because this is what...
I am not affiliated. I want to make sure that I'm understood. I'm not affiliated.
This is we need to speak about it since we are media. We need to speak about and get in depth about these killings amongst our people. This
to
is
be
our
honest,
people.
it all is it's all because one person had an idea and wanted to do something else. So what I did, right? I'm one of those people who get into talking to other people. I literally got the blessing of talking to gang members who were older. Like, I'm talking about 50, 60 years old that been in the game. Whether they were homeless and became drug addicts, or were still in the game, or left the game alone. I got a chance to talk to every single one of them and all their point of views. For some odd reason, I would meet people randomly.
Did you ever meet any young kids in the streets about, the violence?
Yeah, and they didn't know anything because it got to the point where when I would meet them, I would, even in Atlanta, how I started to understand like the whole BD, GD movement was in Atlanta.
Okay.
Because I was around somebody who was trying to like now indoctrine. And when I say indoctrine, it's the same thing with Christianity, where you have a person who's Protestant or a Seventh-day Adventist is trying to tell somebody else, well, this is the doctrine and what you're supposed to follow. They didn't teach you this beforehand. I'm trying to enlighten you. That whole enlightenment was something that I heard often when I was in Atlanta. So I paid attention. So when they would tell a BD or a GD would talk, and I'm like, y'all sound like y'all saying the same thing. You feel me? But one person is trying to enlighten the other, and wholeheartedly, it's because of what they know their leader and what they impose on them, and that's it. To be honest, when you go back, and I swear, I hope there's nobody that comes for me.
No,
in the sense of what I'm finna say, because if anybody really understands, they're gonna understand what I'm talking about. For example, BDs don't eat fish.
Okay.
Because their leader, now, if they really know, their leader choked on a fish. So for them, they looked at it as it was unclean, right? He choked on a fish bone. Now, the GDs don't do the whole pork thing. And there's other gang members, like, there's so many that are under, like, the Islamic law that follow the Islamic law. So every one of them follow every Christianity law, every Islamic law. And it's all because of what their leader went through or what they taught them, and that's all they know. But the young ones, they're fighting a war that was before them.
Before them.
And they don't understand why. So all they know when they got into it was, we don't mess with them. These are our ops.
Right.
So these are our ops. I'm going to go ahead. So this is where the whole smoking on so-and-so comes into play.
Smoking
and this
on
is like, bruh.
Smoking on
What
JoJo.
you doing?
Smoking on this.
Because when I talk to the OGs, what they used to say was this. I don't respect what the young folks are doing, because back in our day, when we had a problem with somebody, we would tell all the women, all the old people, all the kids, go inside. You don't want to see what we got going on right now.
Right.
And then they would go ahead and tough it up, whether it's through fighting and everything else. But nowadays, they just quickly pull out their gun because ain't nobody tough enough to wrestle with their hands for real, for real.
I just wanted to say, if you guys tuning in, we are speaking about black on black crime, speaking about Chiraq, the war in Chiraq with these so-called kids that's losing themselves with the gun violence, killing themselves senselessly without no cause, without, a blog because someone's looking at them differently, whatever. It's just stupid, senseless killing for no reason. And the funny thing is, where are they parents? Like, where they at in between these?
They were. It's a cycle.
OMG.
So, okay,
where their fathers and their mothers, man?
So how we look at like our West Indian backgrounds, right? Especially with Haitian people.
Yeah.
We have a cycle to break, right? We got to break the chains. It's the same thing with them. So what I realized was, every single one of them, majority of the black kids, they don't have education. There's no funding in that.
Okay.
So for them, it's easier for them to get into the streets because it's quick, fast money. So somebody can come to you and say, hey, bro, like, I can help you, da-da-da.
Right.
So most of these kids and most of these gangbangers and drug dealers started off young. And that's all that they had. And every single one of their parents did the same thing.
Okay.
And what's unfortunate is, if their parent was fortunate enough to create something of themselves, they went to jail. If they didn't go to jail, they turned and became a community leader. If they didn't do that, they became an addict.
Right.
So now it's like I'm forced with a community leader who was an ex-gang member, who's going to tell me to do something positive. I don't want to hear none of that because brother over here is talking about from fast money and mama over here going to the corner every now and then. But I didn't know my mother was a 5-star Universal or was a Queen member or anything of that sort.
Right.
But even though she held rank back in the day, now she succumbed to what she was selling and she became that. So now that child sees, I got to provide for my own family. And then somebody's going to be lurking around the corner trying to say, oh, okay, well, you can make this fast bucks because I need a soldier right here, right in there and there. And it becomes that cycle that continues.
Right.
And the only way we're going to break it, and I've seen that happening, and I appreciate the people that ends up coming out of their situation and trying to help the community and trying to help these kids, whether it's YMCAs. Like nowadays, we do not value the YMCAs we have here in Boston.
Okay.
In Chicago, they do that. Like the kids, they try to deter them away. But these hustlers out here in every single corner. It's worse than the liquor stores we see on our every blocks. In Chicago, it's literally every single corner. You cannot hide from that.
There's a liquor store.
No, it's a block. It's a hustle corner.
Okay.
It's more than just a liquor store. There's a liquor store, but it's a block. It's a hustle. Every corner you go.
Is how's Chicago? How's the the environment? Is it different from New York or Boston?
I see it the same.
The same way.
When I look at Boston, when I look at New York especially, it's a hustle town.
Okay.
Anybody gonna sell you everything in a dream.
By the way, I'm gonna put this on wax because this is a very good conversation I'm having between you right now.
Yeah.
I didn't really know that you live in Chicago.
No,
I think you did
this
mention
will be
it.
TBC.
Right. You did mention that, but I didn't really think much until now. I'm talking about black on black violence in our community. But
I can talk
I'm so
about it all
happy
day.
and honored for you to be here and sitting. Because I've been wanting to talk about Chicago for a very long time, but I don't know who I was going to meet in the future for me to have a sit down and talk about Chicago, who really lived there now. And you telling me you lived there
Okay,
and
well,
you
we can
seen the
tune in
GDs.
because when I say I
Right.
lived there, I went through seeing it all, losing it all, going homeless,
All right.
Witnessing a person that was very close to me,
Okay.
losing them to drugs and everything else, that was a gang member and everything else like that. Like, I witnessed everything.
Wow.
And it's funny you say that because I said I was going to talk about my story, but I knew that before I talk about my story, I have to be very careful about how I speak upon it.
Right.
Because I know what it's going to be received and what's going to come back to me. And I'm very quick to respond.
Put it in the book. Put it in the book.
Exactly.
I mean,
So
you could tell. You could tell half of the story because, like I said,
yeah,
I'm gonna put this. This show tonight will be on YouTube. So definitely, because this needs to go on YouTube.
TBC.
Right. So
just
stay
tune
tuned.
in.
Right.
Stay
Stay tuned.
That's
Because this is gonna be a
That's
part.
it.
This is gonna be a part 2. I'm gonna shut it down in a few minutes. Yes,
Absolutely.
but this definitely gonna be a part 2 of war in Chiraq, war between black on black crime and so forth. You know what I mean? And how can we break the cycle of these kids that's killing themselves? How can we break it? How can we make them and bring them to become future businessman or something that they really like, not just
Elevate
rapping,
themselves,
because I feel like
right.
rapping is a downfall for black folks. I'm sorry, I gotta say
Yeah,
that.
it is.
I think
because
rapping,
nowadays, all we talking
Right.
about is just killing each other at the end of the day.
right.
We still doing the same
it's
thing.
a downfall, especially with the drill music. That's why a lot of them are dying, because you speaking about your ops in the drill. It's the
Exactly.
beat and everything, and next thing you know, that and the third, we smoking on this, we smoking on that. It's sad to see. What's the guy named that got killed in Chicago? There's a bunch of them, man. You got JoJo.
It's so many of them.
So many
King
of them.
Von.
King Von. You
what's his
got
name?
the guy.
GD boy.
Damn, I
what's
forgot his name, man. Damn, King Von had beef with him. King
He
Von,
did. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
It's a whole
He was the
bunch.
famous dude
It's
in
so many
Chiraq.
of
But there's
them.
so many of them that passed in Chicago. Now
Duck.
you got.
You talking about Duck.
Duck. Is it
It's
young?
something Duck.
Yeah, Duck. FBG Duck. Right.
we go.
Yeah, FBG.
Yeah.
It was a young. He.
They're all young and they were all
and
promising.
sad, man.
And it's literally just like how it is in here in Boston. I remember back in the day, you couldn't walk by Franklin Field and Franklin Highlands. Franklin Field and Franklin Highlands had beef. How you mean to tell me them two streets got beef and you right across the street from each other?
Right.
Now, when I went to school, back in my day, Whitey Bulger's, I want to say informants, but his co-partner, he came to my class.
Co-defender.
Yeah, he came to my class and spoke. And one thing that he said that resonated with me, and that was when I was in high school. This is years ago. This is over 20 years ago.
Okay.
Over 20 years ago. Jesus Christ. He said, y'all sitting out here being gangbangers and talking about how y'all own this and all y'all own that. But y'all don't own not a damn thing on this block.
Right.
Your mama got to pay rent. You don't own nothing. There is nothing that you can say that's to your name.
Right.
But when we was rolling on this block, we own stuff. We got so bored that we would sit there and just shoot up. And he wrote this in his book so I can say that out loud,
right,
without having to look over my shoulder and think that Whitey Bulger gonna come for me. But he said like we would sit there and like shoot up a mom and pop shop and come back to them and say, we know who did it. Just give us the money.
Wow. Are you serious?
None of y'all gangbangers doing that.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, none of y'all are doing that type of movement. So, like, when he said that, and I was young then, he spoke to not only me, but even those who thought that they were gangster at the time, like, oh, that's some serious business. And that's on, you were bored? Not alone all the dead bodies that they had buried on. That's another story for another day. So when a real gangbanger say to you, like, you're not really doing anything, and they speaking to them, and I'm sitting here in the midst of their crowd, like, oh wait, he right.
Right. So once again, be on the lookout for part 2 of
Yes, part 2 will happen
of the war between black on black, the war in Chiraq, because we have a Chiraq, actually, I'm not gonna say member, a Chiraq.
very native. Let's be real.
Yeah, but I put Chiraq in
Everybody
there.
go ahead and say my accent sound like I'm from Chicago, from the Midwest.
Well, I don't know nothing about a Chicago
I
accent.
am from Roxbury, baby.
Right.
All day and every day.
So when you was in Chicago for those couple of years, did you ever hear a lot of shooting, like even each and every day, weekends, and
It's
so
the same
forth?
thing like how I live right here in
No,
Roxbury.
not in Boston. No,
It's
Chicago
the
ain't got
same
Boston
for
ain't got
me.
nothing on Chicago.
Boston ain't got nothing on Chicago because
So many killing down
of the land and how vast it is. We don't hear what happens in Boston. I grew up right here in Roxbury.
there. Okay.
I could talk about the stuff that happened right here.
So there's a lot of shooting in Roxbury.
Man, crack cocaine happened in the 80s right here on Blue Hill Ave and Seaver Street. It's the same thing that's going on in Chicago. Now, when I stepped to Chicago, I felt like I stepped into a wartime warp because I was just like, wait, people wearing pele-peles and certain things I was accustomed to back in the day in the 90s out here. But it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Same thing, but different city states.
It's just bigger.
Right.
And
No.
Chicago, that's another story.
Right.
Again, part 2.
Part 2 is coming
Part
up. We're speaking about Black on Black. We're gonna dead the show because I know we have a lot of things to do. So hopefully tomorrow, the next day, or so forth. I don't know when Legacy might be back. So
I don't mean to look at y'all like
She's like,
that, but
I
you
see
know,
you.
try to be busy.
Right.
But I'm gonna keep you on your toes. So
Yes.
let's say part 2. We'll give you an announcement so that way you guys can tune in and pay attention, so you guys can get educated and get all the information that you guys need.
Yes, indeed. Be on the lookout. It's your man DJ Quiet Storm. It's been a beautiful night. Hopefully, we'll get to hear part 2. You guys will definitely get to hear part 2 because, like I said, I'm gonna put this on. This nice comfort that we had with Legacy about the Black on Black crime. Your main DJ Quiet Storm, Legacy. Do you have any words? Do you have any last words for the night or for the people?
Of course. Live, laugh, love. Always keep your head up.
Like Tupac.
Remember,
Like Tupac.
remember those 3 words: live, laugh, love, and definitely keep your head up.
All day, every